Joining us now on the Deseret First Credit Union hotline is Pete Smith, Browns analyst for NFLSpinZone.com and DraftBreakdown.com. Pete, welcome to BYU Sports Nation.
Hey, thanks for having me.
From where we sit in Provo in Studio B, it seems like there is a lot of buzz coming out of Cleveland surrounding undrafted free agent and BYU safety Kai Nacua. Why is he garnering so much attention?
So last year, the Browns basically cobbled together their free safety position out of three guys, and two of those guys aren't back. So in the draft, there was a lot of expectation that the Browns were going to make a pretty big investment in free safety. They considered Malik Hooker and Obi Melifonwu, but ultimately, when the draft was over, they didn't pick anybody. So Nacua was sitting there as an undrafted free agent, and frankly, was somebody who was worth drafting. So when they signed him, suddenly he became, sort of an exciting face that could potentially be in the mix for that spot.
What's your opinion of Kai Nacua so far with the Browns?
I'm a big fan of Nacua. From a production standpoint, I mean, he's got the 14 interceptions over the past three seasons at BYU. He's a ball hawk. He's a guy who's not afraid to get physical as a tackler, and then athletically, he's got everything you want from a player at that position. So there's a lot that sort of suggests he can be not only, a guy who can stick on a roster, but somebody who can potentially thrive in the NFL.
Pete Smith, Browns analyst for NFLSpinZone.com on BYU Sports Nation. It looks like he's projected by a lot of people to not only just make the team, but there are some that are going as far as saying he could potentially start. How much credence do you give to a statement like that?
There's definitely a chance for that. I mean, there's a little bit of a curveball thrown in there with the recent signing of Jason McCourty from the Tennessee Titans. Now, he's a corner, but they've at least suggested the possibility that he could also play free safety. But I think they're going to give these young kids a chance to compete, and Nacua certainly figures in well in that situation. So, I mean, if he starts showing things in training camp into the preseason, it would not surprise me. In fact, if it was up to me, I project I'm with those people. I would say he's got a good shot.
Do you think September 10th, when the Browns open the season against the Steelers, what's the chance Kai Nacua is the starting free safety there?
I think it's pretty good. I mean, at the very least, I'd be surprised if he didn't make the roster. I just think he's too talented, and I think he fits a lot of what this regime and this defense wants. BYU plays a lot of that cover three that asks him to be that true center fielder, and that's what the Browns want to do. So he's got a lot of experience of doing exactly what they want from the free safety, and it just becomes a matter of translating that to the NFL level. And if he can adjust to the speed, I think he's going to fit in naturally and potentially make a nice start to his career.
The Cleveland Browns did draft Jabril Peppers, so where does he factor into that mix? Because he was a guy that was a Heisman Trophy candidate at Michigan.
So they're going to put him at strong safety, and I think what they'd like to do is they'd like to play him sort of down in the box a little bit, coming downhill, and a guy like Nacua can drop back and play free safety and sort of protect over the top. So it becomes a nice situation where they love the athleticism of Peppers, and I suppose in certain situations he can play deep and cover some ground if they want to go cover two and split the field in half. But I think what helps a guy like Nacua is the fact that he is proficient at being able to play that deep middle, and it allows a guy like Peppers to be able to do all the things they like from him.
Pete, there's another former BYU Cougar on the roster. Tell us about the progression of wide receiver Jordan Leslie.
So he's been a guy who's floated around a little bit in the NFL, and they signed him to a futures deal. Tremendous athlete coming out of BYU through UTEP. He's reasonably productive, and he sort of fits. He's got the athleticism that's similar to a guy like Corey Coleman. Obviously, he's not the prospect that Coleman was coming out of Baylor, but you sort of can see why they would be attracted to a guy like Leslie and why they'd give him a shot.
And what kind of a shot do you feel like he has to make the Cleveland Browns as a wideout?
He's going to have a tough hill to climb. They've got Coleman, they've got Britt, they've got a lot of these young kids, and right now they have about 10 kids on the roster and then Leslie and about 6 of those other guys could be fighting for 1 or maybe 2 spots. So it's certainly going to be difficult. I think you haven't heard much about him yet. I think what's going to happen is if he's going to make noise, it'll start being in training camp and most likely in preseason when he gets a real look to see if he's somebody that they could potentially keep.
Pete Smith, great stuff. Browns analyst for NFLSpinZone.com. We appreciate the time, man.